Welcome to the offseason, going into season number 5 in the Indianapolis Aeros franchise. Unfortunately, our season ended in the ALCS, and we lost to the Seattle Mariners, who eventually went on to the World Series, and we will look at the results of that in a little bit. Now, getting into our offseason right away, we had a couple of award winners. First was Tayfon Edwards. He won Rookie of the Year as a 28-year-old lefty pitcher. He was an international free agent out of Jamaica. He got a boost. He got +2 in every statistical category. He goes up to an 82 overall. And then Archie Bradley also got a boost. He goes from a 69 overall and a D potential to a 75 potential and a 71 overall. So he will be hitting free agency, so this will help him out, and maybe he will get a big contract from another team, but we'll definitely be interested. Other guys to look out for in the future. Now, I was going to give a boost to our minor league players of the year like we do every year, but I decided not to because I did not have a save which pulled up the stats for the minor league season. I do it every year, but I forgot to save that, and I didn't feel right just guessing who did well. I know who did, but I wanted to have some numbers behind that, so I decided not to do the boost there. The St. Louis Cardinals defeat the Seattle Mariners in 6 games in the World Series, and Nolan Gorman ends up being the World Series MVP. He is a monster, by the way. He hit 30-plus home runs. He is on his way to becoming a star. So let's get into the offseason. We don't have many retirements. Obviously, we had Brandon Crawford, but he was a non-factor at the MLB level. But Clayton Kershaw did retire after 19 seasons. He played 1 season with the Yankees, and he retires. So a new era of maybe the best MLB or the best pitcher in baseball will go on with the Dodgers. And he had a very good career, by the way, as well. But hopping into our staff signings, we had a completely empty staff, and one of the things that I wanted to make sure is to get the right guys in here that are all A attribute grades, so you can just see all of our guys. We even hired Mark Pryor for our manager, and we'll see if he accepts that, but that's kind of the idea. I have not been very happy with the development of our farm system. A couple of guys have developed, but we definitely helped them out with a boost as well, but not everybody collectively has progressed the way I've wanted. So I'm hoping that hiring a pretty much A staff will help out with development in the future. So here are exclusive rights free agents, and half of these guys I'm not going to go after, including Jalen Beeks, who I gave a 2-year deal to after season 1, and he has pretty much disappointed. Like, he has not been a good relief pitcher at all. He's floated up between the AAA level and the MLB level, but he has never sticked anywhere. But one guy I do want to re-sign is Archie Bradley. He got the attribute boost. We'll see what kind of market he gets, and he wants a good little pay raise. He was making $1.5 million. He goes up to $2.8 this year. And then Genesis Cabrera is the next player I want to offer a contract to. He does very good in Sim, so I do want to retain that because obviously we're not going to be playing 162 games. So I will give him around what he wants. He wants $4.7 million. I'm going to give him a little less than 10 and see if he does re-sign on that. So we're going to offer him about 9.8 or $10 million. So it'll be a little bit over what he's asking for. But one guy I do not want to go after is Jordan Montgomery. I've been very disappointed. I thought he was going to be like an ace that would dominate, and it just hasn't been that. We could eventually go after him in free agency if we really want to, but I'm going to let him walk without a contract offer. But one guy I won't let walk is Ian Happ. He has been incredible since we've signed him, and we signed him and Jordan Montgomery during the same time frame, and Ian Happ has definitely been the best of the two. But Ian Happ is asking for $18 million a year, so we're going to give him a little bit more than that. We're going to give him some hometown love. He obviously went to college at Cincinnati, and he's in the area, so we will offer him that contract. And I think that's all we're going to do here for our exclusive rights free agents, but we have some news as we go into the free agency phase. They all become free agents. None of them re-sign. So we're going to have to compete with the rest of the market. So here are the top free agents. Alejandro Kirk is definitely the biggest free agent here, along with Jazz Chisholm and Tyler Stevenson. I think those three guys are going to demand the most money out of anybody here, but there are a lot of good options. I think one thing that we're going to do is continue to develop our pitchers in our organization, develop our young position players as well. We don't have many position players that are probably going to be moved up at some point this year, but one pitcher comes to mind, and that is our first overall draft pick back in season number 2. We'll see if Terrell Blake will make it up to the show this year, but I do want to make sure that I have a starter to at least hold it down until he's ready. I said I wasn't going to go after Jordan Montgomery unless the market dictated that, because he's wanting about $15 million, somewhere around there, 16-17 million. But I think there's other pitchers I can get on a bargain cheaper than that. John Means is one. He's a very, very good stat pitcher. I mean, look at the whip, look at the quality starts. It's like consistently 20, and Montgomery only had 120 quality start season with us. So I decided to offer him a contract. He wants $10 million, but he's not even budging. Like, he doesn't even want to come to us. So I decided to pull that offer and look at other options. So we look at the other options here, and one guy that catches my eye is Sean Manaea. Manaea is interesting. Like, I would say is very comparable stat-wise to Jordan Montgomery, but he's had significantly lower starts. But in 13 games, he had 9 quality starts, and in 14 the year before that, he had 8 quality starts. I mean, that is actually pretty good. So I'm going to go after him. And like I said, this is going to be just a placeholder until Terrell Blake is ready. This is not a long-term fix. So I decided to give him a very cheap contract. As you can see, we're literally saving a third of Jordan Montgomery's potential summary. And he gets a 2-year, $12 million deal with a club option. So we don't have to commit to him long-term. We decide to up the ante for Ian Happ because I'm getting worried. Because he looks like he's going to test the market like he hasn't committed to the team. So I have to do my due diligence as a manager, as a GM, and look at the market around him. I look at Brandon Lowe, who is the exact same age. He pretty much plays the exact same positions because Ian Happ, remember, can play the outfield as well. So can Brandon Lowe. He can also play first base a little bit. And they have very, very comparable stats. Brandon Lowe has a little bit more power as well and does steal bases at a higher clip. And I decide to look to see what he wants, and he wants a significantly lower contract. We're talking $20 million all the way down to 10. So we're going to offer him a little bit over that. $10 million is nothing compared to Ian Happ. So I decide to play it out a couple of days to see if Ian Happ commits, and he doesn't. So I decide to actually pull that offer and go all in on Brandon Lowe because we're saving a lot of money, which could go elsewhere. That other place that money could go is outfield, and Dylan Carlson is there. I've always thought about trading for him, but the White Sox beat me to it. The White Sox acquired him. He was with the White Sox the last couple of years, like 2.5 to be accurate. And he's only asking for $10 million. So if you tell me that I can get Dylan Carlson and Brandon Lowe for the price of Ian Happ, I'm taking that probably 9 times out of 10. I also decide to go back after Carl Edwards. Edwards was a pretty cheap deal last year. We had him at about $2 million, and we decide to offer him around that same price, 2.5, and hopefully he commits to us. He's not very interested, but we'll see if he ends up coming anyway. Genesis Cabrera ends up going to the Marlins, so he is not going to re-sign with the Arrows. He was just a deadline acquisition anyway. I didn't have high hopes for re-signing him, but I did want him to re-sign. So the first dominoes start to fall. Tyler Stevenson goes to the Mariners, so if we meet up with the Mariners, we'll have to see a superstar catcher as well. I thought about going after Stevenson, but I thought that, you know what, I don't think it's very realistic for me to go ahead and sign back-to-back catchers in 2 years straight, and I would probably end up moving, Perez to first base or something like that if I did end up doing it, but I didn't. But the first guy that ends up signing is Archie Bradley. He signs a $2.8 million contract just for 1 year, so that is good. Other dominoes around the league, Brian Abreu goes to the Pirates. How about Tristan McKenzie going to the Phillies on an $84 million deal, 5 years? Alejandro Kirk signs the biggest contract of free agency, $300 million over 9 years. He goes to the Rangers. And then we get the news. Brandon Lowe ends up signing with the Arrows, taking a significant pay cut from what Ian Happ was even making last year. Remember, Ian Happ was making $15 million. He wanted a pay raise to 18.5 to 20, and he wasn't signing, so I decided to go after a cheaper guy. So Brandon Lowe is the new second baseman of your Indianapolis Arrows. So in between the offseason now, we now have the draft lottery. This is the first time we have hit this, actually. And we will see what happens in the top 10, but we have no chance of getting that. Obviously, we're going to be pick number 27. This is the latest we've ever picked in the draft. So I'm very, very curious on how the draft this year will go. But we are all the way back at number 27. I'm not mad at it, to be honest, because obviously that means that you're a successful team. So we end up simulating here. We'll see who gets the number 1 overall pick. Teams that have had the number 1 overall pick in this series have not done well anyway. And the Giants are there for the number 1 pick again. This is the second time they've picked number 1. So the Rule 5 draft comes, and we already have 40 guys on the 40-man roster, so we are not eligible for that draft. The first draft we're not eligible for. We do find out that Dylan Carlson does sign with us. Sean Manaea ends up signing with us, and Carl Edwards. All 3 of those guys end up signing. It wasn't a splash offseason here for free agency, but we do sign a few good pieces, I think, in my mind. And we end up having a salary of around $100 million. So that is kind of a jump from 85 last year. And then we get the news that Ian Happ goes back to where his roots started here with the Cincinnati Reds. He went to the University of Cincinnati for college, and he goes to the Reds, and he makes pretty much what he wants, $18.9 million. I guess he didn't want to come back to the Arrows. Maybe he wanted to go back home to Cincinnati, and that was kind of his dream there, to go where he played his college ball. So here's kind of a projected lineup. I'm not sure if this lineup will stick, but Ojo Taikan will hit leadoff. I think he's our fastest guy in this entire lineup, so I'm definitely going to be looking to add some speed somehow, either through our prospects or via trade throughout the season. And looking at, the rest of our lineup, it's just a lot of pop. Like, we have a lot of pop in the lineup. Even Joey Meneses moving down to the 8th spot in the lineup had to happen in order to make room for some other players. And obviously Meneses can move back up, but I like Meneses as a guy that can drive in runs at the bottom of the lineup. So I have him down at the 8th spot right now. And then our rotation looks like this. No more Jordan Montgomery, but our rotation doesn't change too much. Babe Miller is still going to get a chance to be a starter. He obviously had a down year last year, but I still believe in him. He had a 24 quality start the year before, so I'm expecting him to have a bounce back season. He's still 26 years old, so I have very much a lot of hope in him. And then Tayfon Edwards, Todd Workman, and then Sean Manaea will round out the rotation along with Babe Miller. Josh Brody will likely make the roster this year, the opening day roster, as our long reliever. I'm hoping that he makes that next step. He's obviously a starter, but I think moving him to the bullpen is probably the best move. But our bullpen still needs something. We lost Genesis Cabrera. We need another guy to add to the rotation. So I decide to go all out and trade for a relief pitcher on the final year of his contract, and that's going to be Kyle Nelson from the D-backs. Hasn't been amazing, but a pretty good pitcher. Like 2 years prior to last year, he had a 2.97 ERA, a 2.36 ERA, and a whip below 1.25. So I will take that, and especially since he pitched more innings than last year as well. And then we decide to throw in another guy from the Diamondbacks, Oscar Colas. Fun fact, same last name as me. So I want to add another depth outfielder, a guy that doesn't necessarily have to be a starter, but Colas also has some speed to him and some good defensive ability, but he had his best hitting year last year, 522 slugging. And the two guys we are giving up here, Alex Matheny, he was an outfielder in our organization for the last few years. I just haven't seen, that production that I've wanted to see from him. I thought that he would be ready for the show as of this year, but he is still not ready. And I think he started this series at 65 overall, and he's only at 71. So I don't know how much developing he's going to do. And then the big piece that they want back is Logan Doherty. He is a very good prospect, and at 24 years old, he's still got a couple of years to develop within their organization, and they decide to agree to this deal and add to their farm system. So that's really going to do it for the offseason. Not a lot of splashy moves, but I did want to make it a point to sign at least 2 players that would equal the salary of Ian Happ, and we did just that with Dylan Carlson and Brandon Lowe. I'm excited for Lowe. I don't know what he's going to look like at the plate. Is he going to hit number 3 in our lineup? Because remember, he hit like 30-something dingers last year, so we'll have to see if he can replicate that success. And then we'll see if Oscar Colas ends up making the MLB roster. I'm not really sure. We might just have him at AAA. And then we'll see if the young guys are ready, like Terrell Blake. Is he going to be ready? Is Jackie Cochran, who was our first-round draft pick 2 seasons ago, he has 1 year under his belt. Is he going to be ready? And then obviously we had a good draft class last year, but those guys are still a couple of years away. So that's going to do it here for the offseason. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.